outside, nothing looked wrong. I was spending 3-day weekends potty training. I was hosting meals, taking my kids to the park, reading the parenting books, listening to the podcasts, doing all the things a present and engaged parent is supposed to. But somewhere in the toddler years, I started noticing something, a thought I didn't want to admit I was having. And that was, I don't want to. Not the big things, just the day. The weekend stretching out in front of me, the dread I'd feel on a Friday afternoon that I couldn't explain in anticipation of a full weekend of parenting. Noticing that I had less patience than I usually do. A quieter version of myself showing up everywhere I went. I wasn't checked out. I was still there. I just wasn't fully really there. If you're a mom and you're watching this, I want to ask you something. Not, are you burned out? Because most of us will say no. We're functioning, we're managing. Maybe we wouldn't ever use that word for ourselves. But do you recognize that feeling? The I don't want to, the dread, the pushing past everything. The ways you've gotten smaller somehow, less of your own opinions, your own wants, your own needs, without quite noticing when it happened. And a lot of us are carrying more than our share. Whether anyone can see that from the outside or not, it's just true. That's what I want to talk about today. Because nobody told me what mom burnout actually looks like, and I think it would have been helpful if they had. So the first is, it doesn't look the way that you expect it to. It rarely looks like some big collapse. It doesn't look like not getting out of bed or not showing up. It looks like hosting Thanksgiving. It looks like going to the park and, teaching your kids to use the potty and all the 3-day weekends and all this stuff while running on fumes. It looks like functioning. But here's what I often tell my clients. The women who are most burnt out are often the ones who are doing the most because they haven't stopped. They've just quietly disappeared from their own lives while keeping everyone else's going. The second is the identity piece that we often don't look at. The most underrated part of mom burnout isn't the exhaustion, it's the identity erosion. At some point during these years, I realized I had genuinely lost track of who I was outside of being a mom and a therapist. What did I want? What brought me alive? What did I think about things? Not as a parent, not as a professional, but just as a person. I didn't know anymore, and that loss, that slow, quiet disappearing is real, and it deserves to be named. And I'd argue it deserves to be grieved. The third is that guilt makes it worse. Most moms pile shame on top of the burnout. I should be grateful. I asked for this. This is exactly what I wanted. I chose this. Or it's, other moms have it so much harder and they do it. And I did some of that too. But here's what I know from sitting with other women who are in the exact place. The guilt doesn't make you a better mom. It just keeps you stuck and leaves you feeling worse. You can't keep giving from a place you haven't learned to fill. So I am nowhere at the end of this journey. I'm still very much in the middle of it myself. My life looked different by the time things started to shift. And some of that change was hard and not something I chose exactly. But what I can tell you is what's actually been helping. And it's not exactly what I expected. The first thing was letting myself grieve, not bypassing it, not reframing it into a lesson, not justifying it, not moving on, actually sitting with what I'd lost. The version of myself I used to know, the season I'd imagined things would look different, the support I needed that wasn't there, that grief was real. And letting it be real was the beginning of something for me. The second was getting back to my values, not what I thought I should want or what everyone is doing on Instagram, but what actually matters to me. And those things are moving my body, being out in nature, real friendship and community that I've chosen and nurture. Small things that were genuinely mine. And the third, which is still a practice and not something I've mastered, is really noticing how I'm talking to myself and being kind. This is not just meant to be a strategy, but it's a basic, for me, it's a basic act of care and compassion towards someone, myself, who has been doing a lot for a very long time. So I don't have any lists on this video, and I'm sure that you have many lists of to-dos in your life. But I do want to leave you with one thing that I think could be helpful. And it's this question that I want to invite you to reflect on, write about it, think about it, whatever. And the question is, who was I before I became someone's everything? You don't have to answer it out loud, but journaling sometimes can be really, really nice. So this isn't about scheduling a new routine or reading another book. It's just an acknowledgement that there was a you before all of this, and she's still in there. And sometimes, if we search and learn a little bit about her, we can reconnect with parts of ourselves that we want to bring back to our life today. We can understand better what we value. We can understand what's meaningful. I'm Nicole. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and this is the work that I do with women who are burnt out, over-functioning, and trying to find their way back to themselves. I'll be back next week with something I think you'll want to hear, and I'll see you then. Bye.